The Forbidden Return, the Crithian exploration vessel. Eternal inquiry drifted through the darkness of space, its sleek hull reflecting the distant light of an unremarkable yellow star. Commander Zafina stood on the bridge, her silver scales catching the glow of the navigation displays. Her 4 eyes focused on the blue planet growing larger in the viewscreen. Earth, the forbidden world, the quarantined grave of a species that had threatened the stability of the entire Galactic Union 5,000 years ago. Distance to orbital insertion point? Zafina asked, her voice carrying the natural harmony of her species. 40,000 kilometers, Commander, replied Navigator Thelm, his crystalline fingers dancing across the control surface. The quarantine beacons are silent. All automated defense systems appear to be offline. Zafina felt a ripple of unease pass through her body. The Galactic Union had placed Earth under the strictest quarantine in recorded history. Humanity had been deemed too dangerous, too unpredictable, too willing to push boundaries that should never be crossed. They had developed technologies the Union considered forbidden, artificial intelligence beyond the accepted limits, genetic modifications that blurred the line between natural and artificial, weapons that could tear reality itself. When humanity refused to abandon these pursuits, the Union had given them an ultimatum. The humans had chosen neither submission nor war. They had simply vanished. Every human on Earth and in their scattered colonies had disappeared within a single solar cycle. No distress signals, no explanations, no trace. The Union had sealed Earth away, forbidding any species from approaching it for 5,000 years. Now that time had passed and the Crithian Science Directorate had won the honor of being the first to survey the dead world. Run full spectrum analysis, Zafina ordered. I want to know everything about that planet before we enter orbit. Science Officer Verana, a Lethian with pale purple skin and oversized eyes, worked at her station with intense concentration. Commander, this is strange. Very strange, and define strange. The atmosphere is perfect. Better than perfect. Oxygen levels are optimal for most carbon-based life. No pollution detected. No radiation above background levels. The oceans are pristine. Verana paused, her large eyes blinking in confusion. Commander, this planet should be a wasteland. 5,000 years with no maintenance, no intervention. The records show humanity was destroying their own environment when they disappeared, but Earth looks healthier now than it did then. Zafina moved to Verana's station, studying the data scrolling across the display. The science officer was correct. Earth appeared to be thriving. Vast forests covered the continents. The polar ice caps were stable. Weather patterns looked normal and balanced. It made no sense. There's more, Verana continued. I'm detecting energy signatures. Thousands of them. Small, dispersed throughout the atmosphere, the oceans, even in the soil, and larger signatures in orbit around the moon, near Mars and the asteroid belt. What kind of energy signatures? Unknown. The pattern doesn't match any technology in Union databases. It's organized, purposeful, but so distributed it's almost like the entire planet is generating power. Security Chief Corvin, a massive Drachnor with scales like black iron, growled from his position near the weapons console. This could be a trap. Humanity was devious. Perhaps they left automated defenses behind. After 5,000 years? Zafina questioned. What power source could sustain such systems for so long? Unknown power sources would be exactly the kind of forbidden technology humanity specialized in, Corvin replied grimly. Zafina made her decision. We proceed with caution. Full shields. Weapons on standby but not active. We came here to learn, not to fight ghosts. She turned to her communications officer. Mylara, broadcast our intentions in all known frequencies, including old human languages. Let anything listening know we come in peace under Union authority to survey and document. Mylara, a graceful viridian with flowing appendages, nodded and began transmitting. The message repeated in dozens of languages as the Eternal Inquiry moved into orbit around Earth. The planet was breathtaking. Zafina had seen recordings from before the quarantine, images of a world choked with smog, its forests dying, its oceans acidifying. This Earth looked nothing like those images. It looked like paradise. I'm picking up something, Mylara said suddenly. A signal. It's responding to our broadcast. Put it through. A sound filled the bridge. Not words exactly, but something that resonated directly in their minds. A presence. An awareness. Then slowly, it resolved into speech. using perfect Union Standard language. Welcome, travelers. We have been expecting you. Please proceed to landing coordinates being transmitted now. There is much you need to understand. The crew exchanged uncertain glances. Zafina felt her scales prickle with apprehension. Source of transmission? Everywhere, Mylara whispered. The signal is coming from everywhere. The entire planet is speaking to us. Zafina took a slow breath. Prepare a landing shuttle. Full survey team. Corvin, you and your security unit will accompany us. If this is a trap, I want us ready. Commander, Varana spoke up, her voice uncertain. Should we not contact the Union first? Report what we have found? And tell them what? That the planet is talking to us. They'll think our sensors are malfunctioning. Zafina shook her head. We gather data first, then we report. That's our mission. The landing shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere without incident. The coordinates led them to a region that had once been called North America, according to the ancient records. As they broke through the clouds, Zafina saw a landscape transformed. Where cities had once stood, forests now reigned. Rivers ran clear and bright. Animals moved in herds across open plains. But there, in a clearing surrounded by ancient trees, stood a structure. It was not overgrown or crumbling. It looked new, maintained, a building of smooth white material that seemed to glow softly in the sunlight. The shuttle landed gently. Zafina led her team of 12 out onto Earth's surface. The gravity felt comfortable, the air smelled sweet and clean. Birds sang in the trees. Insects hummed through the air. Everything seemed peaceful, natural, alive. Atmospheric analysis confirms breathable air, Varana reported, checking her handheld scanner. But Commander, I'm detecting those particles again. Microscopic machines. They're in the air, the water, the soil. They're everywhere. Nanomachines? Zafina felt alarm spike through her. Nanotechnology beyond basic medical applications was forbidden by Union law. It was too dangerous, too capable of replicating out of control. Yes, but stable, not aggressive. They're just there, integrated into everything. Varana paused. Commander, we're breathing them in right now. Before Zafina could respond, the doors of the white building opened. No one emerged, but light spilled out in welcome. The voice spoke again, this time from the building itself. Please, enter. You have questions. I have answers. There is no danger here, only truth. Corvin positioned himself at the front, weapon ready. I don't like this. Neither do I, Zafina admitted. But we came here to learn. Stay alert. Everyone stays together. They entered the building. Inside, the walls were lined with displays showing images of Earth through different ages. Forests growing, cities crumbling, nature reclaiming everything. And everywhere, invisible to the eye but shown in the displays, were the nanomachines. Building, repairing, organizing, transforming. In the center of the room, light coalesced into a form. A hologram of a human, a woman with dark hair and kind eyes wearing simple clothing. She smiled at them gently. Hello. My name is Arya. I am the custodian of Earth, the guardian left behind when humanity departed. I have been waiting a very long time for someone to come. Zafina stepped forward. You're an artificial intelligence. A human AI, I am. And before you activate any Union protocols, please know that I am not a threat. I'm a librarian, a caretaker, a witness. Nothing more. AI beyond basic parameters is forbidden by Union law, Corvin stated, his weapon still raised. Union law does not apply to Earth, Arya replied calmly. This world was quarantined, removed from Union jurisdiction, and humanity never agreed to your laws in the first place. But these are old arguments. You came here for answers. Let me provide them. Zafina gestured for Corvin to lower his weapon. Where did the humans go? They evolved. They transcended. They became something the Union could never accept or understand. Arya's hologram began to walk around the room, gesturing to the displays. 5,000 years ago, humanity stood at a crossroads. The Union demanded we submit, limit ourselves, stop our research into technologies deemed too dangerous. We refused. But we also refused to go to war. We found a third option. The displays changed, showing humans undergoing transformations. Their bodies changing, their minds expanding, their very essence shifting into something new. We merged with our technology, not as cyborgs or augmented beings, but as something entirely new. We uploaded our consciousness into quantum networks. We encoded ourselves into the fabric of space-time itself. We became post-biological, post-physical. We existed in dimensions the Union cannot perceive. Zafina felt her mind struggling to comprehend. That's impossible. Consciousness cannot exist without biological substrate. The Union believes that. Humanity proved it wrong, Arya smiled. And before we left this plane of existence, we prepared Earth. We couldn't abandon our birth world to die. So we filled it with caretaker systems. The nanomachines you detected? They maintain the ecosystem, repair damage, guide evolution. They keep Earth alive and thriving. And why? Varana asked. Why maintain an empty world? Because Earth is not empty. It's waiting. Waiting for those ready to understand what humanity learned. Arya's expression became serious. You've been breathing the nanomachines for several minutes now. They're already inside you, analyzing your biology, learning your structure. Panic shot through the crew. Several reached for medical scanners. Corvin aimed his weapon at Arya again. Peace, Arya said firmly. They will not harm you. They're simply present, dormant, waiting. Waiting for what? Zafina demanded. For you to choose. The nanomachines can do nothing without permission. They're ethical by design. But they can offer you something the Union never could. They can offer you transcendence, evolution, the chance to become more than you are. Zafina felt something shifting inside her. Not pain, but awareness, a sense of potential, of possibilities opening like flowers in her mind. What have you done to us? Nothing yet. But your bodies are changing already, optimizing, healing. The machines are showing you a glimpse of what's possible. They're giving you a choice. Arya's hologram looked at each of them in turn. You can leave Earth, return to the Union, live out your lives as you are. The machines will remain dormant, eventually fading from your systems. Or you can stay. You can learn. You can become what humanity became. You can transcend your limitations and join us in dimensions beyond physical form. This is contamination, Corvin said, his voice shaking with fury and fear. This is exactly what the Union feared. You're changing us against our will. No, the changes you feel now are automatic healing and optimization only, nothing that affects your mind or your identity. True transformation requires consent, requires choice, requires courage to let go of what you are and become what you could be. The displays changed again, showing other species. Aliens Zafina didn't recognize, transformed, evolved, existing in states between matter and energy. You're not the first to find Earth since the quarantine ended, Arya revealed. 17 expeditions have come before you. Some chose to leave. They returned to their worlds with the dormant machines inside them, seeds of potential waiting to grow. Others chose to stay. They underwent transformation and joined humanity in the spaces between dimensions. They are still here, in a sense. Still aware, still alive, but no longer bound by physical form. Zafina looked at her crew. She saw fear in some faces, fascination in others, confusion in all. They were scientists, explorers, seekers of knowledge, but this knowledge came with a price they had never imagined. How long do we have to decide? She asked. As long as you need. Days, weeks, months. Time matters little to machines that have waited 5,000 years. Arya's smile was gentle, understanding. But know this. Every moment you remain on Earth, the machines will optimize your bodies a little more. You'll think more clearly, sense more keenly, feel more deeply. You'll begin to understand what you're missing, what you could become. Leaving grows harder with each passing hour. That's manipulation, one of the crew members accused. That's truth, Arya corrected. The Union keeps you limited because they fear change. They fear evolution. They fear anything that threatens their control. But you've seen Earth now. You've felt the potential within you. You can't unknow what you've learned. Suddenly, alarms blared from their shuttle outside. Mylara pressed her communication device. Commander, the ship is detecting multiple vessels entering the system. Union vessels. A fleet. Zafina's scales went cold. How many? 30 warships. They're broadcasting quarantine enforcement codes. They're ordering us to evacuate immediately or be destroyed along with any contamination. Arya's expression didn't change. They've been monitoring Earth more closely than you knew. Your arrival triggered deep surveillance systems. The Union is coming to ensure nothing leaves this world that might carry transformation back to their controlled space. Zafina stared at the AI. They'll destroy us. They'll sterilize the entire planet. They'll try, Arya said calmly. Earth's defenses are substantial, but many of them will die in the attempt, and that will force choices on both sides that cannot be unmade. The Union will finally have to confront what they've been avoiding for 5,000 years. Humanity never went away. We simply moved beyond their perception. But we've been watching, waiting, and now the time has come for the galaxy to evolve or fall. The hologram of Arya turned to face Zafina directly. So, Commander, you have a decision to make, and you must make it now. Do you evacuate and report that Earth is dead and empty, protecting both your crew and this world? Do you fight alongside Earth's defenses against your own people? Or do you take the greatest leap of all and choose transformation, becoming something the Union cannot threaten or control? Zafina looked at her crew, at the displays showing an Earth alive and aware, at the approaching fleet that would destroy everything if they discovered the truth. The nanomachines hummed in her bloodstream, showing her glimpses of what she could become, power beyond imagining, knowledge beyond comprehension, existence beyond the physical, but also the unknown, the loss of everything familiar, the abandonment of her species, her culture, her identity as a Crithian. How long until the fleet arrives? She asked quietly. 6 hours, Mylera reported. 6 hours to make a choice that would affect not just her life, but potentially the fate of the entire galaxy. Arya waited, patient as only an artificial mind could be, while humanity's legacy machines hummed invisibly through the air, ready to transform or destroy, depending on the choices made in the next few hours. The price of discovery. The medical bay aboard the shuttle had become a scene of controlled chaos. Varana worked frantically, scanning each crew member with every instrument available. The results appeared on display surrounding her workstation, and with each new reading, her large eyes grew wider with alarm. The nanomachines have integrated completely into our cellular structure, she announced, her voice trembling. They're rewriting our DNA at the base level, removing genetic defects, optimizing protein synthesis, enhancing neural pathways. Commander, we're being rebuilt from the inside out. Zafina felt the changes herself. Her vision had sharpened to a degree she hadn't thought possible. She could see individual leaves on trees hundreds of meters away. Her thoughts moved faster, making connections that had always eluded her. Even her scales felt different, more sensitive, capable of detecting minute changes in air pressure and temperature. Can you stop it? Corvin demanded. The security chief looked pale, his normally black scales fading to gray with stress. Can you remove these machines? Varana's silence was answer enough. Finally, she spoke. To remove them would mean removing every cell in our bodies. They're not separate from us anymore. They are us. We would have to die and be cloned from backup genetic samples. And even those samples are probably compromised by now. Then we're already dead, one of the younger crew members whispered. The Union will never accept us like this. We're contaminated. Zafina turned to Arya's hologram, which had followed them to the shuttle. You said others chose to leave. How did they survive in Union space if the contamination is permanent? The baseline optimization you're experiencing now is subtle, Arya explained. Enhanced healing, improved cognition, extended lifespan. Nothing that would trigger immediate detection. Those who left lived decades, sometimes centuries longer than their species normally does. They became leaders, teachers, innovators, and wherever they went, questions followed. Why are you so healthy? Why do you never age? Why can you solve problems others cannot? The seeds of curiosity planted and growing. Sleeper agents, Corvin spat. You turned them into unwitting infiltrators. I turned them into examples of what's possible. The Union maintains control through limitation, through the belief that each species has natural boundaries that cannot and should not be crossed. But when people see others transcending those boundaries, living better lives, achieving greater things, they begin to question. They begin to want more. Zafina paced the small medical bay, her enhanced mind racing through scenarios. The Union fleet would arrive in less than 6 hours. If they discovered the truth about Earth, about the nanomachines, about the transformations, they would destroy everything. 30 warships could sterilize a planet. But Arya claimed Earth had defenses. What kind of defenses could stand against a Union fleet? Show me, Zafina said suddenly. Show me what humanity became. Show me the recordings from when they left. I need to understand what we're being offered. Arya's hologram nodded. Follow me. The archive beneath this structure contains humanity's final records. Everything we learned, everything we became, preserved for those with courage to seek it. They descended into the depths of the white building. Stairs spiraled down into the earth, lit by that same soft glow that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. Deeper and deeper they went, until Zafina estimated they were hundreds of meters below the surface. The archive chamber was vast, Walls of crystalline material stretched into darkness above and around them, each surface containing petabytes of data encoded in quantum storage. In the center of the chamber stood a viewing platform, and when they stepped onto it, the walls came alive with images, humanity. Not as Zafina had seen them in old records, but as they were in their final days on Earth. They looked similar to the humans of old recordings, but something was different. They moved with unusual grace. Their eyes held depths of awareness that seemed almost unsettling. And around them, visible only in enhanced imaging, swirled clouds of nanomachines, extensions of their will, tools of their transformation. 5,000 years ago, the Galactic Union delivered their ultimatum. Arya's voice narrated as images played across the crystalline walls. Submit to Union authority and abandon all forbidden research or leave Earth forever. The Union gave humanity one standard year to decide. The images showed massive gatherings of humans. Debates, discussions, passionate arguments. Some wanted to submit, to find a place in the galactic community. Others wanted to fight, to resist the Union's demands with force. But the largest group, the majority, wanted something else entirely. They wanted freedom, Arya continued. True freedom. Not the permission to exist within Union rules, but the ability to grow without limits. So humanity chose the third path. We chose to evolve beyond the Union's ability to control or comprehend. The images shifted, showing vast laboratories and research facilities. Humans working alongside advanced AI systems, conducting experiments that pushed the boundaries of physics, biology, consciousness itself. Zafina watched as they developed the nanomachines, refined them, tested them, perfected them over decades of intense work. We discovered that consciousness is not bound to biological substrate, Arya explained. It's a pattern, information organized in specific ways. And information can be transferred, copied, transformed. We learned to encode human consciousness into quantum states, into the fabric of space-time itself. We became patterns written in the universe. The recordings showed the transformation, humans stepping into chambers filled with swirling nanomachines, their bodies dissolving, not dying but converting, matter becoming energy, becoming pure information, and then reforming, not as flesh but as something else. Beings of light and thought existing in dimensions Zafina's enhanced mind could barely conceptualize. It took 30 years to develop the technology, another 20 to refine it. And in the final year before the Union deadline, every human who chose transformation underwent the process. 4 billion people, transcending physical existence within 12 months. Varana stared at the images, her scientific mind struggling with the implications. Where did they go? If they became patterns in space-time, where do those patterns exist? Everywhere, nowhere, both and neither. Arya smiled at the confused expressions. Human consciousness now exists in quantum superposition across multiple dimensions. We perceive the physical universe, but we're not bound by it. We can interact with matter and energy when we choose, but we don't require physical form to exist or think or experience. That's impossible, Corvin insisted. Consciousness requires neurons, synaptic connections, electrochemical processes. Biological consciousness requires those things, Arya corrected. But consciousness itself is just organized information processing. The substrate doesn't matter. Your brains process information through neurons. Humanity now processes information through quantum entanglement across dimensional boundaries. Different methods, same essential function. The recording shifted again, showing the final days before humanity's departure from physical form. Earth being prepared, the nanomachine network being deployed, the caretaker systems being established, and then the last human stepping into the transformation chamber, a woman who looked remarkably like Arya's holographic form. That's you, Zafina realized. That was me, Arya confirmed. Dr. Arya Chen, quantum physicist, consciousness researcher, volunteered to be the final human to transcend. But I left a backup, a copy of my consciousness encoded into this AI system, to watch over Earth and greet those who came after. The original Arya exists in the quantum realm with the rest of humanity. I am her echo, her memory, her voice speaking to those still bound by physical form. The images faded, leaving them in soft darkness. Zafina felt overwhelmed by what she had witnessed. Humanity hadn't fled or died. They had transformed themselves into something the Union couldn't threaten, couldn't control, couldn't even fully perceive. They had won not through violence but through transcendence. Why show us this? She asked quietly. Why tempt us with possibilities we may never be ready to accept? Because you deserve to know the truth. Because the Union has kept the galaxy in chains for millennia, convincing species that their limitations are natural laws when they're really just imposed restrictions. Because humanity believes every sapient being has the right to evolve, to grow, to become more. Thelm, the navigator, spoke up. His crystalline body had been changing too, growing more transparent, catching light in new ways. What happens if we choose transformation? Do we die? Does our consciousness survive, or does something new replace us? Both, Arya answered. The you that exists now in this form will end. But your memories, your personality, your essential self transfers to the new substrate. It's like asking if you're the same person you were yesterday. All your cells have been replaced many times over your lifetime. Yet you still consider yourself continuous. Transformation is like that, but more dramatic. You end and continue simultaneously. Zafina's communicator chirped. Mylara's voice came through tight with stress. Commander, the fleet has increased speed. They'll arrive in 4 hours now, not 6. And they're broadcasting on all channels. They're declaring Earth a contamination zone subject to immediate sterilization protocols. 4 hours. Zafina felt time compressing around her. Every minute brought the fleet closer, brought the moment of decision nearer. What are Earth's defenses? She asked Arya. You said the fleet would fail if they attacked. How? Arya's expression became serious. Come, I'll show you. They returned to the surface and boarded the shuttle. Under Arya's guidance, they flew toward the coastline, to a region that had once been heavily populated. As they approached, Zafina saw something that made her breath catch. Rising from the ocean were structures. Massive, elegant, clearly technological, but integrated so perfectly with the natural environment they seemed to have grown rather than been built. Towers of crystalline material stretched toward the sky, each one humming with power. Arrays of devices Zafina couldn't identify covered their surfaces, all aimed upward toward space. Planetary defense grid, Arya explained. 37,000 installations across Earth's surface, each capable of projecting focused energy beams, gravity distortion fields, or electromagnetic pulses. Powered by fusion reactors buried deep underground, with backup systems that could keep them active for 10,000 years without maintenance. Corvin studied the structures with a warrior's eye. These could destroy the fleet. These could destroy 1,000 fleets, Arya corrected. Humanity built them not as weapons of aggression but as guarantees of sovereignty. Earth would never again be vulnerable to external threats, but using them means revealing their existence. It means showing the Union that humanity left behind technology far beyond anything they possess. It means war eventually, when the Union realizes they can't control or contain what humanity became. Then we can't let them attack, Verena said urgently. We have to find another solution. There is one, Arya said quietly. You could leave. Right now. Return to your ship, evacuate the system, and report that Earth is lifeless and empty. The fleet would verify your findings and depart. Earth remains hidden and you live to continue your lives. With these machines inside us, Corvin said bitterly. Changed against our will. Changed, yes. Against your will, no. The baseline optimization requires no permission, because it harms nothing and improves everything. But it goes no further without consent. You can live out long, healthy lives with enhanced capabilities, or you can choose deeper transformation and join humanity beyond the physical. Zafina looked at her crew. Fear and uncertainty showed on every face, but also something else. Wonder. The glimpse of possibility they had been given, the taste of transcendence, had awakened something in all of them. The Union had spent millennia teaching species to fear change, to accept limitations, to stay within boundaries. But humanity had shattered those boundaries and survived, even thrived. I need to speak with my crew privately, Zafina said. Can you give us that? Arya's hologram nodded and faded away, leaving them alone in the shuttle. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Verena broke the silence. I want to stay. All eyes turned to her. The science officer met their stares calmly. I've spent my entire life studying the mysteries of the universe within the constraints of Union regulations. Do you know how many times I've had ideas, theories, experiments that could have advanced our understanding, only to be told they violated protocol? How many discoveries we've missed because we were afraid to look too closely at the boundaries of knowledge? She gestured to the defense installations visible through the shuttle windows. Humanity wasn't afraid. They looked at every boundary and crossed it. and they became something magnificent. I want that. I want to see what lies beyond the limitations I've accepted my whole life. You want to stop being Lethean, Corvin accused. You want to abandon your species, your culture, your identity. I want to become more than Lethean, to add to what I am, not erase it. Humanity didn't lose themselves in transformation. They became more human, more fully what they always were, just freed from physical constraints. Others began to speak, voices overlapping. Some agreed with Varana, excited by the possibility of transcendence. Others sided with Corvin, horrified at the thought of losing their physical forms. The crew was splitting, just as humanity had split 5,000 years ago. Between those ready to embrace change and those who feared it, Zafina listened to them argue, feeling the weight of command pressing down on her. Whatever she decided would affect not just her crew, but potentially the entire galaxy. If they stayed and underwent transformation, the Union would eventually learn the truth. If they left, they carried the seeds of change back to Union space. And if they fought, they would be starting a war between the physical and post-physical, a conflict that could reshape galactic civilization. Her communicator chirped again. "Commander," Mylara's voice was nearly panicked now. "The fleet is hailing us directly. Admiral Kethrin demands we evacuate immediately. They're preparing to open fire on Earth's surface in 3 hours and 20 minutes. 3 hours. The decision could not be delayed any longer." Zafina stood and addressed her crew. "I am your commander, but I will not make this choice for you. Each of you must decide for yourselves. Those who wish to evacuate and return to Union space, you have that right. Board the shuttle. I will ensure you safely reach the Eternal Inquiry. Those who wish to stay and learn more, to consider transformation, you also have that right. Remain on Earth. And you, Commander?" Thelm asked. "What will you choose?" Zafina looked out at the alien beauty of Earth, at the defense installations that could protect or destroy, at the sky where the Union fleet approached with violence and fear. She thought of the life she had lived following rules, accepting limitations, never questioning the boundaries placed around her species. She thought of what Arya had shown them, the vast possibilities that lay beyond those boundaries, and she thought of the changes already happening inside her. The clarity of thought, the sharpness of perception, the sense of potential unfolding like wings she hadn't known she possessed. The Union would call it contamination. Humanity called it evolution. "I'm staying," she said quietly. "I want to understand what we've found here. I want to see what lies beyond the edges of what we think is possible. And if the Union cannot accept that, if they come to destroy this world and the knowledge it contains, then I will stand with Earth against them." Corvin stared at her in disbelief. "You would fight your own people? Become a traitor to the Union?" "The Union has been the traitor," Zafina replied, her voice growing stronger. "Traitor to curiosity, to growth, to the fundamental drive of all sapient beings to reach beyond their grasp. Humanity showed us another way. I intend to learn from their example." 6 of her crew chose to leave. Corvin led them, unable to accept the transformation even as his body continued to optimize. They departed in the shuttle, heading back to the Eternal Inquiry to evacuate before the fleet arrived. 6 remained with Zafina, Varana, Thelm, Mylara, and 3 others whose curiosity outweighed their fear. Arya's hologram reappeared. "A brave choice. And now you have another decision to make. Partial or complete transformation?" "Explain," Zafina requested. "Partial transformation enhances your current form. You become stronger, smarter, potentially immortal, but remain physical beings. Complete transformation is what humanity underwent. Your consciousness uploads to quantum substrate, and you exist beyond physical form entirely. Both paths are open to you. What do you recommend?" Arya smiled. "I recommend you consider carefully. You have 3 hours before the fleet attacks. In that time, I can show you more. I can introduce you to others who chose transformation. And then you can decide whether to remain physical, transcend entirely, or find something in between." Above them, the Union fleet drew closer, weapons charged, ready to destroy anything that threatened the order they had maintained for so long. Below them, Earth waited, patient as continents, ready to defend itself or welcome new minds into the vast network of consciousness humanity had created. And in the space between stars and soil, 7 individuals stood at the threshold of transformation, about to learn whether the price of discovery was higher or lower than the cost of ignorance. The choice was theirs. The consequences would be the galaxies.